Light of Dawn radius increased to 40 yards. That's the big one. Huge fan. Visuals have been changed too. Visuals now look like this. Here you go. Boom. I think that's pretty. I think it's nice. It's not like annoying and aggressive like the old one was, and it's updated and modern. I like it. Big fan of the radius being 40 yards. That's gonna make it so that we can actually use it in all content. Beacon of the Savior now jumps to targets below 30% health. The absorb triggering every 8 seconds instead of 5. So they are nerfing Beacon of the Savior, but it still looks very strong. Crusader's Might now reduces the cooldown of Judgment by 3 seconds, and its location changed. So now it's up here, which means it's not a tier 3 talent, which is very nice. That also means that we're going to get a new talent at some point. I don't know what it's going to be, but very interested to see what they cook with that. I would have liked to see it not as a choice node with Liberation, because I was kind of excited to play Liberation, and now it just looks like we're going to have to be Crusader's Might. Judgment cooldown reduced by 20%, so they just flat reduced the cooldown of both Judgment and Holy Shock in order to open up our rotation more. That was their fix. Rather than bringing back CS, they just decided to make them shorter cooldowns. With that, though, also came the nerfing of Avenging Crusader, which does appear to be rather significant. As for Holy Prism, it now generates 3 Holy Power, which is something I suggested in the last video, so I'm glad that they implemented that. These are very interesting changes that I'm super curious about. Shield of the Righteous now reduces the cooldown of Holy Shock by 4 seconds instead of 1.5, which is absolutely massive. And it grants 0.5% mana. So it's actually a way that we can generate mana instead of losing it. It also only grants its CDR and mana if it hits a target, so you can't just like randomly press it if you're not in melee. So it appears that we are going to be back in melee, at least in M+. I'm not sure how that'll affect raid. Oh, they actually heavily nerfed Veneration as well. That was not in the notes. Yeah, Awakening was also heavily nerfed. Huh. Here's the annoying thing, like Sanctified Wrath just sucks. So now both Sanctified Wrath and Awakening kind of suck. The 1.5 minute is nice. If it's going to be a 30-second reduction but cost you 5 seconds of the CD, it already doesn't feel like a super strong talent. But the fact that it costs 2 points is brutal. It's like at that point, I'll just take Truth Prevails and like whatever the fuck is coming soon. Hopefully that's something good. I think this is an interesting build. Let's see how I would DPS. So, okay. The big changes that we need to look for: Shield of the Righteous, granting mana, and also reduces the cooldown of Holy Shock by 4 seconds is crazy. AC, we're going to try not playing AC right now. HS cooldown reduced by 2 seconds. Judgment cooldown reduced. And CM reduces. Okay, so we've got 2 things that do major reduction. We have CM, which does a major reduction on Judgment. And then we have Shield of the Righteous, that does a major reduction on Holy Shock. So we're gonna try this out. This is crazy. What the fuck? Okay, you just spam Holy Shock and Judgment. You just permanently Holy Shock. Okay, well, we have our DPS rotation back. I don't know how Holy Pallies are going to feel about being forced to press Shield of the Right. Wait, oh, a gap. I found a gap. That'd be a great spot for a filler button. Crusader Strike, Exorcism, whatever the fuck. Okay. That is fascinating. Yeah, 2 charges of Judgment would go a long way. With these massive, like, CDR chunks out of Judgment, it definitely feels like a 2-charge system for both would help a lot. Overall thoughts on this, definitely good changes. Much better than last week. I'm much happier. But I do think that there is still a fair amount of work to go. I think I'm interested to see what they cook for this. Feedback wise, I'd like to see Call of the Righteous be 1 talent instead of 2. I think because it has the negative aspect to it where it reduces the duration already, that offsets it enough that you could make it a 1-point talent where it's like, you know, it's reduced by 30 seconds but reduces the CD by 5. I think making it a 2 talent node is just awkward because taking 1.45 minute wings would always kind of be weird. So yeah, I would really like to see Call of the Righteous be 1 talent. I don't really love this node. Never really liked these talents in the first place. Hand of Divinity is better now, for sure. Especially with the fact that it procs off of AC. Even if you have 45-second AC, you can get it every 45 seconds, which is kind of crazy. Might want to make it so that it's 1 Holy Light instead of 2 for AC, so that it's not like super OP for AC and then not very good for regular wings. Tears Deliverance needs a buff if it's going to continue being a tier 3 talent. Seraphic Barrier, I understand the change, but also now it's just a net 0 talent. Like, it doesn't give you any actual throughput. So it's kind of a niche pickup for basically one of our like core tier 3 talents. The biggest things, Sanctified Wrath, I would love to see change. We already have so much reducing Holy Shock's cooldown that it seems pretty unnecessary to have so much power dropped into reducing the cooldown of HS. A lot of that's just going to go to waste during wings, which I don't love. Additionally, I think that Crusader's Might is a great talent, but it makes playing around it kind of awkward because 3 seconds is such a major chunk off of the cooldown of Judgment. Like, it's so much that I think the only way to make that not awkward and like have it be wasted a lot of the time is to make Judgment a 2-charge system like they did for Holy Shock. And you could, you could increase the cooldown of Judgment by a second or 2 but give it 2 charges. I think that would help a lot. Interested to see what this is going to become. Breaking Dawn, similar to Call of the Righteous, where I think it should just be a 1 talent node that increases Light of Dawn's healing by 10%. I think 1 point for 5% on one of our spenders is a very small thing, especially for something in such a core position. Overall, though, I'm very happy. It seems that they listened. The Light of Dawn change is fantastic. The new animation looks great. 40 yards baseline is wonderful. It no longer makes it so that we're at an awkward position in terms of like where we have to position our character. It seems like we're going to be more tied to melee and M+ versus raid. Raid, we might play more of a ranged healer, and then M+, we play more melee. That's because in raid, you probably wouldn't cast Shield of the Righteous very often, but in M+, you will cast it a lot. That's also what kind of makes Sanctified Wrath awkward, is that with Shield of the Righteous taking off 4 seconds from Holy Shock, that's literally more CDR just from 1 Shield of the Righteous than the actual cooldown of Holy Shock within wings. Because the cooldown of Holy Shock within wings is 3.4, and Shield of the Righteous reducing it by 4, it's like you're just wasting all that CDR. I don't know. It's a very awkward talent now. I would love to see that changed. Move away from Holy Shock CDR reduction. We have enough of that baked into the rest of the spec now. And I'd like to see Sanctified Wrath become something else. Maybe just increase the raw power of wings. That would be sick. Even if it's by a small amount, I'll take it. I don't know. I'm not a dev. I have no idea. I'm just saying I don't like the Holy Shock CDR part. I imagine they're going to keep an eye on how all this CDR is playing out. I do think it's a little bit awkward because just our entire kit is CDR now. Like, our cooldowns are going to be really awkward to watch. It's not super intuitive, right? Like, when I'm just sitting here, my cooldowns are teleporting all over the place. Like, between Holy Shock, just like constantly refreshing, and then, it's really hard to visually track our cooldowns now and like what we should be pressing in any given moment, which, especially with so much add-on and weak auras being removed, it's going to be a little bit awkward, I think. I'm not sure I like how much CDR they opted for. I recognize why they did it, to fill in this problem that they introduced by removing CS. And I also recognize that they probably don't want to reintroduce CS. I'm guessing that's part of the greater button pruning that they just don't want to bring back at all. The only thing I'll say is the spec probably should take a little bit of power out of CDR and instead reintroduce a filler spell. That would make it so that we're not quite as awkward with our cooldowns just jumping around all over the place, but we still have a button to press constantly, even if we're like just DPSing, questing, whatever. Bring back Crusader Strike as a filler, or give us Exorcism or something. I don't care, but every other healer in the game has a filler. We really need a filler. Now is the time to give us a filler, especially with all this other button pruning that we're doing. We are opening up a lot of keybinds. Please give us a filler.